chilly morning in Netherlands. We're going to see windmills today. Oh, 这吓我一跳。 The other side of the ship. 7 Atlantic.
That was it, huh?
Yeah, that's all.
We're going to do the boat ride first.
Be able to see in a minute's time the densest amount of windmills in the Netherlands. About 20 windmills are built on this site. All those windmills were built around the year 1740 after a big flood, and we are going to visit the site of these windmills in a three-step form. First of all, we take a little, maybe let Kati pass through. First of all, we will take a little boat ride so that you have the best picture opportunities to see. Extremely wet area, as you can see. And the problem was always, how can you, more than 300 years already ago it was established, and still nowadays you have to pump this water constantly out here over the dike into the river. How do they do it nowadays? Not with windmills anymore, but with a very modern pumping station. This is the device here on the right hand side. So the job of the windmills still has to be done, but it is done with a more modern and sophisticated method right now. I'll show you those massive turbines in a second. Ready? These massive engines are propelling huge propellers that you will be seeing on the other side. Same applies over here. You have also the propeller house pumping constantly the water to the next level, and if you look back now you can see the dike. Behind that dike there is the river. This is where all the water in here needs to go. Of windmills, many more will be coming up. Watch out for the bicycles here. Now have a look. This is what is substituting the old windmills. Wow. Big screws. Massive screws. And they, as you can see, when these huge engines start working, they pump the water up to the next level, over the dike and into the river.
Oh, yeah.
And this work that is now done by this very modern devices was done originally by the windmills. That means all those that portion of land by constantly pumping the water over the dike into the river. And this is why these windmills here were erected in such a big number, because this area where we are, it's called the Ablasser land, and it used to be for all times in the Dutch history a very dangerous land, especially for floods. And also the name of Kinderdijk reminds you of the fact that but I suggest we have a closer look. As I said, we start with a little scenic ride on one of those boats here, and they
What's her name?
Ilse. And I gave, yeah, you can keep her. So I'll give her my device and have a good time with her. Bye.
Really?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I got all your stuff because you're in the book.
Area marshes around the year 1100. And the landlords who lived in other places, they said we will use these swamps economically for agriculture. So they had rivers. And the water would go out to the west side and the south side of this region. Now these rivers were every year the ground within the dikes were sinking and river levels kept on rising. And that's so then we were flooded or we couldn't get rid of the water.
Windmill.
Now a bit different from the others. We will pass it later. It's on the front right side. It's a small one. That's the oldest one around, and that is actually the first one in line along the canals. So again, 3 feet higher than to the high basin. And the elevation makes it possible for us to release the water. And also, it's a temporary storage extra. So at least the water is out of the villages and the farm fields. And if we can't release it, it still is here in the basins. So that's step number 2. And 2 years later, in 1740, the Eastern Water Board on this side, on the left side, said we will also make windmills, but we'll make better ones. But they were always competitive. So they made a wooden skeleton, a little brick wall, but then a wooden skeleton covered with thatch. If you remove the thatch, you can look straight through it. So these are much lighter than the stone windmills. I'll show you later the stone on your wooden shoes. And you share it with the neighbor also. Now, how do they all cooperate? 1 mile further on, there's windmill number 2, and 15 miles there. We all have these windmills all through the district. Now, in the middle of the, it's like a bowl here. In the middle of the bowl, there's one miller who measures the water level. That's his job also, extra job. And if he sees that the water is too high, we have to start pumping, then he would hang a lamp in his wings, and he put it down in the wing, and then put the wing up, and you could see it from far away. So his neighbor miller sees the wing, sees the lamp. He also hangs a lamp, and then the signal is all carried out through here. And then we have a chief miller west and a chief miller east, and the windmill on the corner here in front of us. That windmill on the corner, that is our signaling mill. So he receives the signal, and then he gives the signal to the chief millers. Then the chief millers start pumping, and if they pump, the others here have to follow within 15 minutes. So if all 8 work together, so we have 8 east and 8 west, if all 8 work, then there's a lot of water being pumped over to the high basin behind the windmills. And then the water from the fields is automatically flowing, also pumped in the basins, in the canals, and then it will flow this way. So that's how it all works. So we use the mills for language. Björn, my colleague, will also tell you more about it, I think. Now, you can see the one here on the corner, that's the tilted one. From this angle you can nicely see it. Now, this is the one with 13 children inside. And nowadays, this particular windmill, we have the 11th generation of one family living here. Yeah, 11th generation. So his great-great-grandfather was the first one ever living here also. And also, this is windmill number 5. We counted that like that. Windmill number 6 is family, and windmill number 7 is family. They all go to Hoek. The thatch company, also called Hoek. It's all related around it. So you'll see inside later, the windmill is quite small. So where do we store all those 13 children? Probably because of the wind, we can tell sooner if the wind's changing direction. We can adjust, catch more wind also. That's the case. And the interesting detail is that the milkman also has big ears. But I don't dare to
Does she live in one of the mills?
no, I do have big ears, but I don't live in a windmill. I used to live on the dike though, so I'm a bit of an expert. Medieval living for everything. Washing, bathing, sanitary purposes, the laundry, all. So one bicycle to visit one of the